You might have heard whispers about a tiny copper coin, a simple penny that could make someone a millionaire overnight. A coin so ordinary, most people wouldn't even notice it in their pocket change, yet collectors around the world hunt for it with burning obsession. Yes, I'm talking about the 1996 Lincoln penny, a 1-cent coin that, according to rumors, could be worth a fortune. But, is it really true? Can this small, reddish-brown coin really be worth thousands, or even millions of dollars? Hold on tight, because in the next few minutes, we're diving deep into a world where history, mystery, and money collide. And trust me, the real value of this coin might shock you. You see, not all pennies are created equal. Some were struck perfectly, others came out with strange marks, double prints, or tiny flaws invisible to the untrained eye. And it's these rare imperfections that can turn a humble cent into a collector's dream. Now, people online are claiming they found a 1996 penny worth $1 million, but before we believe the hype, we'll uncover what makes certain coins skyrocket in value while others remain worth just a cent. So don't skip ahead, because the story of the 1996 penny isn't just about money. It's about mystery, minting, and the magic of hidden treasure that might be sitting right in your hand right now. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we reveal the truth, you might start checking every penny you ever find again. And who knows? Maybe the next one in your change jar could change your life forever. Before we uncover its secrets and shocking worth, let's travel back through time, to understand where this humble yet iconic coin truly began. The year was 1909, a year of celebration. It marked 100 years since the birth of Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most beloved presidents. To honor him, the U.S. Mint made a decision that would forever change the face of American coins. For the first time in history, a real person, not a symbolic figure, not Lady Liberty, but an actual U.S. president, would appear on a coin. That coin was the Lincoln cent. The design featured Lincoln's profile on the front, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, would later become famous, and even controversial, among collectors. Over the decades, the Lincoln cent became more than just currency. It became a piece of American heritage. Fast forward to 1959, marking Lincoln's 150th birthday. The U.S. Mint decided to give the coin a new look, replacing the wheat stalks on the reverse with the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design would continue for nearly half a century, right up until 2008, and that includes the coin we're focusing on today, the 1996 Lincoln Memorial penny. Now, the 1996 penny may seem ordinary, but it comes from a fascinating time in U.S. coinage history. By the early 1980s, the Mint had changed the penny's composition, switching from nearly pure copper to zinc coated with a thin layer of copper.
Why?
Because copper prices had risen so high that it cost more than 1 cent just to make a 1-cent coin. So your 1996 penny is part of this newer era, mostly zinc, with only a light copper shell giving it that traditional reddish shine. But even though it's small and made mostly of zinc, it carries more than 100 years of American history in its design, from Lincoln's legacy to the artistry of Gasparo's memorial. Every 1996 penny you see was struck during a time when billions were minted, and yet, among all those billions, a few extraordinary pieces stand out. Some have flaws so unique they're considered one-of-a-kind treasures. Some were struck in error, giving them unimaginable value. And some have stories that make collectors dream of finding that single, life-changing coin. But before we jump into the world of errors and rare varieties, let's pause and take a closer look at the design, the details that make this little coin not just money, but a miniature masterpiece. At first glance, the 1996 Lincoln penny might look like any other small copper coin, a common sight in change jars, desk drawers, and forgotten corners of wallets. But when you stop and really look at it, you'll see a story, a design that's been admired, debated, and loved for generations. Let's start with the obverse, the front side of the coin. Right in the center is the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted more than a century ago by Victor David Brenner. His portrait isn't just art, it's history pressed into metal. You can see the calm yet determined expression, the fine details of his hair and coat, the quiet strength in his eyes. Above him, in bold letters, it reads, "In God We Trust." To his left, the word, "Liberty." And just beside his shoulder, the year that ties this story together, 1996. If you look closely below the date, you might notice a tiny letter, D, P, or sometimes even S. That's the mint mark, a secret signature telling you where your coin was born. D for Denver. P for Philadelphia, though sometimes there's no mark at all for this mint. S for San Francisco, reserved for the proof coins made specially for collectors. Each mint has its own story, its own quirks, and sometimes, its own rare surprises. Now flip the coin over. On the reverse, you're greeted by one of the most recognizable images in all of U.S. coinage, the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. Look closely, and you'll notice something amazing. In the very center, between the columns, there's a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln himself, seated just like he is in the real memorial in Washington, D.C. Yes, a portrait within a portrait. It's an extraordinary touch, hidden in plain sight. Above the memorial arches proudly the phrase, United States of America. Below it, the classic E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. And finally, at the bottom, the denomination, 1 cent, the simplest of values for a coin that, as we'll soon see, sometimes becomes worth 1,000 times more. Every detail of this design tells a story of faith, unity, freedom, and craftsmanship. And while most people see only a small coin, collectors see a canvas of history that fits perfectly in the palm of your hand. But what if I told you that sometimes, that beautiful design doesn't turn out quite the way it's supposed to? What if the machines at the mint make a tiny mistake, a double strike, a missing detail, a strange color, and in doing so, accidentally create a treasure? Those are the coins that make headlines. Those are the coins that bring in thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars. And in the next part, we'll dive deep into exactly those, the errors, the oddities, and the hidden gems among the billions of 1996 Lincoln pennies ever struck. So get ready, because what's coming next might just make you look twice at every penny you've ever owned. Now, here's where things get really interesting. We've talked about the history. We've admired the design. But the real excitement begins when things don't go according to plan, when perfection at the mint slips for just a fraction of a second. Because sometimes, one tiny error can turn an ordinary 1996 penny into a collector's jackpot. Let's begin with the basics before we uncover the rare ones. Common 1996 pennies, the everyday ones. Most 1996 Lincoln pennies are extremely common. Billions were struck, more than 6.5 billion in total from all mints combined. If you find one in circulation today, it's worth just 1 cent, maybe 2 to 5 cents if it's in really nice shape. But if your coin is uncirculated, meaning it's never been used, still shining as if freshly minted, it could bring anywhere from $1 to $10 depending on condition. And if it's a proof coin from San Francisco with a mirror-like finish, collectors might pay $5 to $15 for a perfect example graded PR70. But that's only the beginning. The real treasure lies in the errors, the mistakes that turn an everyday coin into something extraordinary. Double die errors. This is one of the most famous and sought-after types of mint errors. It happens when the coin's design is accidentally struck twice, slightly off alignment, creating a doubled image, most noticeable on the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1996. If you find a strong double die example, collectors could pay anywhere from $50 to over $500, depending on how clear and dramatic the doubling appears. Even minor doubling can fetch $20 to $50 easily. Off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where part of Lincoln's head or the date seems cut off. That's an off-center strike, caused when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned in the press. If only a little is off, maybe 5 to 10%, the value might be around $20 to $50. But if it's dramatically off-center, say 40% or more, and still shows the full date, 1996, you could be holding a coin worth $100 to $250 or more. BIE error. Between the letters B and E in the word Liberty, sometimes a tiny raised line appears, forming what looks like the word BIE. This happens due to a small crack in the die. It's not a rare error, but it's fun to find, usually worth $5 to $20 depending on the clarity and condition. Die cracks and cuds. Over time, the dies used to strike coins wear out or crack. When that happens, part of the metal fills in those cracks during striking, creating raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface, sometimes on Lincoln's head, neck, or even the rim. If the damage is dramatic, like a large cud that covers a chunk of the rim, collectors love these and may pay $50 to $200, even more if it's bold and clear. Clipped planchet error. Occasionally, a coin blank is punched too close to the edge of a metal strip, resulting in a coin with a curved clip missing part of its edge. If your 1996 penny has that perfect crescent-shaped missing section, it could fetch $30 to $100 depending on how noticeable the clip is. Wrong planchet errors. Now here's where things get wild. Sometimes a penny is mistakenly struck on the wrong metal blank, like one meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. These errors are extremely rare and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For example, a 1996 penny struck on a dime planchet sold for over $1,200 at auction. Double-struck coins. If a coin is struck once, then accidentally struck again off-center, it creates an incredible, dramatic error where you can see two overlapping images. Collectors go crazy for these. Prices range from $100 to $500, sometimes much more if the second strike is bold and clear. Transitional or wrong metal errors. While the 1996 penny is supposed to be zinc with a thin copper coating, if by some mistake it was struck using an older, solid copper planchet from before 1982, that would be major. These are incredibly rare, and if verified by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, could be worth $2,000 to $5,000 or more. Now, let's talk about condition, because even without errors, the state of your coin matters a lot. Circulated 1996 penny, 1 to 5 cents. Brilliant uncirculated, BU $1 to $10. Mint state, MS65 or higher $20 to $50. Proof coin, PR 70 $10 to $15. Error coin, minor $25 to $100. Major error coin, double die, off-center, wrong planchet $500 to $1,500 plus. Unique or graded rare errors, up to $5,000 plus. That's why collectors always recommend getting rare-looking coins authenticated and graded, because a coin that looks ordinary to one person could be worth a small fortune to another. But wait, what about those rumors? Those viral posts claiming the 1996 penny could make you a millionaire overnight? Is there really a coin out there worth that kind of money? Well, the truth behind those headlines is coming next. And trust me, it's not what you expect. Now we step into the moment everyone's been waiting for. The whispers, the headlines, the jaw-dropping claims across social media. You've seen the videos. You've read the posts. Check your change. The 1996 penny could be worth $1 million. But is that true? Could a 1-cent coin really make you a millionaire overnight? Well, let's separate the hype from the reality. The truth is, no regular 1996 Lincoln penny, not even one in perfect mint state, has ever sold for anything close to $1 million. The U.S. Mint struck billions of these coins. They're everywhere, in jars, in drawers, under car seats, and even buried in couch cushions. So, the majority are worth face value, just 1 cent. But, and here's where the suspense stays alive, there are certain rare varieties and mint errors that can bring in serious money. Some 1996 pennies have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction. And that's where many of these viral million-dollar stories begin, from misunderstandings of real, but much smaller, record-breaking sales. For instance, a 1996 penny struck on a dime planchet once sold for over $1,200. A double-struck 1996 cent sold for about $800. And some high-grade proof pennies, graded PR 70 deep cameo, have reached $100 to $150 in collector circles. These are impressive numbers for a coin worth just 1 cent originally, but still far from $1 million. So where does the million-dollar penny story come from? It's a mix of legend, exaggeration, and misunderstanding. Over the years, a few different coins have truly sold for staggering prices, like the 1943 copper Lincoln cent or the 1944 steel cent, which are legitimate rarities worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And because those coins also bear the Lincoln design, many people assume that any old penny could be worth the same. That's where the myth of the million-dollar 1996 penny took off, a rumor blending truth and fantasy, spreading across YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and collector forums. But make no mistake, while no confirmed 1996 penny has reached 7 figures, that doesn't mean yours is worthless. Because hidden among billions, there could still be that one unusual piece, a minting mistake no one has discovered yet, a unique error waiting for a collector's eye. After all, new varieties and errors are discovered every single year. Think of it this way, every great treasure hunt begins with curiosity. And that's exactly what makes coins like the 1996 Lincoln penny so fascinating. It's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of the unknown. The possibility that something so small, so ordinary, could hide an extraordinary story. So yes, most 1996 pennies are worth 1 cent, but the search, the dream, and the discovery, that's priceless. Now, we've seen the rumors, the truths, and the values. But before we wrap it all up, let's take a step back and look at what this humble coin really means, not in dollars, but in legacy. Because even if it never makes you a millionaire, it carries something far richer. And so, we come to the end of our journey, a journey that began with whispers of million-dollar fortunes and led us deep into the fascinating world of one small coin. The 1996 Lincoln Memorial Penny, a coin most people pass without a second glance, carries within it more than just a cent's worth of metal. It holds over a century of American history, artistry, and symbolism. It tells a story of a nation, of change, and of the man whose image it bears, Abraham Lincoln, the president who guided America through its darkest hour. We've uncovered its origins, traced its design, explored the errors that can turn it from ordinary to extraordinary, and faced the truth behind those viral million-dollar claims. And what we discovered is both humbling and inspiring. Yes, most 1996 pennies are worth only a cent. But some, with their rare mint mistakes or perfect preservation, can reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value, living proof that even in mass production, a few coins are destined to stand apart. Yet the real worth of this penny goes far beyond the numbers. It's in the idea that something so small, so easily overlooked, can still capture the imagination of millions. It reminds us that value isn't always about wealth. Sometimes it's about story, history, and wonder. So, the next time you pick up a penny, any penny, don't just see it as spare change. See it as a tiny time capsule, a link to generations past, and maybe, just maybe, a hidden treasure waiting to be recognized. Because somewhere out there, among billions of coins, one might just have a secret, a minting error no one's found yet, a discovery waiting for someone with eyes sharp enough to see what others missed. Maybe that someone is you. So keep looking, keep searching, and remember, fortune doesn't always glitter like gold. Sometimes, it shines quietly in the palm of your hand, in the copper glow of a simple 1996 penny.